Basketball presented by KFC, and all of this a part of Student Spirit Week presented by EAS, the #2 team in the nation. Kansas on the road to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. Hi everybody, Terry Gannon along with Fran Fraschilla. In Colorado trying to turn around its season, just 1-5 in Big 12 play. They meet a Kansas team that may be angry today coming off that loss on Wednesday night at Kansas State. What does the loss mean to Bill Self and the Jayhawks?
I think it's a reality check because, as you know, Terry, sometimes winning can mask your weaknesses. This team has very few weaknesses, however. They're not going to lose their swagger today. And for Colorado, it's about changing the culture under Jeff Bzdelik, a really good coach.
Kansas, perhaps the best team in the nation?
I believe they still are, yeah.
Check out our Star Watch. Mario Chalmers, one of the best in the Big 12. And Richard Roby trying to lead the Buffs in scoring for 4 straight years.
Chalmers does it all. Offensively, defensively, he's murder, particularly on the defensive end. Richard Roby, got to give him credit. He's been through 2 coaches. He's really bought into Jeff Bzdelik's system. Check
out our starting lineups here in Boulder today for Kansas at 20-1, 5-1 in the Big 12. Veteran lineup: Russell Robinson, Mario Chalmers in the backcourt, Brandon Rush shooting the threes, Darnell Jackson and Darrell Arthur carrying the load inside. And for Colorado, Marcus Hall, Corey Higgins, Dwight Thorne getting the start today. It's a smaller lineup. Richard Roby doing the scoring and the rebounding, and Marcus King Stockton inside. Jeff Bzdelik in his first year and coming off of great success at the Air Force Academy, and also led the way just down the road for the Denver Nuggets for a couple of seasons in the NBA. Bill Self, simply one of the best in college basketball in his 5th year at the helm. A couple of Elite Eights for Kansas, and wanting more than that this year. They're looking Final Four, hopefully a national championship in their minds.
Very important. That's the regular season is a precursor to what Kansas does in the NCAA tournament, Terry.
Duke Getzel, Kip Kissinger, and Don Daly, the Big 12 officiating crew, getting set on what's been a gorgeous weekend so far here in Boulder. 50 degrees yesterday, a little bit chillier today, but perfect outside and a full house inside the Coors Event Center. And underway in Boulder, tipped out quickly. It'll be Kansas basketball. So Chalmers will take the ball out of bounds. That loss on Wednesday night, the first one in 24 trips. They had never lost in Bramlage Coliseum at Kansas State, and it was kind of the perfect storm.
It really was.
Kansas State.
And in fact, the last time they lost, Bill Self was a guard at Oklahoma State. Takes you back a ways.
Rush playing very well in Big 12 games, out in the early going with the injury, and Chalmers now swings it around the perimeter. In terms of style, as Rush launches a 3 and off the heel and cleared by Marcus Hall. If you're Kansas, you'd love to play this at a New York pace today. If you're Colorado,
yes.
maybe on the beach in Maui.
Very much a slow down pace for Jeff Bzdelik if everything goes well, and that means making some shots out of that Air Force type, now Colorado offense.
Roby double teamed down on the block, and they swing it. There's the high cut. They have UCLA cut, blocked off the backcourt. That's a goaltend. So there's Higgins with the first bucket.
You know, yesterday, Terry, when we watched practice, that's exactly what Jeff Bzdelik worked on. He took his offense and broke it down into 2- and 3-man plays. And that little UCLA cut where they got the basket, they worked on that for about 20 minutes.
There's that post backcourt. Kansas looking for that. It's just saved, but there's Arthur on the baseline or the sideline. So the turnover by the Jayhawks, giving it back to Bzdelik's Buffaloes.
And for those who haven't followed Jeff Bzdelik, when he got to Air Force, that Princeton-style offense was already in place under Joe Scott and Chris Mooney, previous coaches. He left it alone. It really became effective, and he's brought that style to Colorado.
And it's a difficult style to play against. You don't see it that often if you're, well, in any league, really. But you see teams against Northwestern really kind of hate to go to Northwestern play.
That's true, and there are some NBA teams like the Wizards and the Nets that use components of it.
3, and that's Marcus Hall, the senior from Houston.
It's very important for a team that's only averaging 58 a game in Big 12 play.
Jackson off the glass and in, taking it from the top of the key. No one stopping the basketball, but Jackson, Arthur, they give you that, and they give you an outside presence as well.
They really do, and Darnell Jackson's a great story. The senior has had such a heavy heart in his career, losing his grandmother in an automobile accident. He's playing with a free mind this season.
Jackson, the senior from Oklahoma City. Higgins presses the issue, and the first foul on Brandon Rush. So Higgins, just a freshman from Danville, California, but maybe one of the more talented players in this starting five.
Very much so. He's a guy that Jeff Bzdelic can build around. They have a solid recruiting class. As I mentioned earlier, Terry, for Colorado today, it's really all about changing the culture and building a basketball program that these people can be proud of.
And starting to believe as players and as a program that you can have a winning club.
I think you're exactly right. And remember now, Xavier Silas, who's been a starter, is not starting today, just sending a message that there's a certain way that Jeff Bzdelic wants to run this program.
Dwight Thorne, the sophomore from Arlington, Texas, getting the start today. There's the patience on this end of the floor. Running the shot clock down, at least right now, it's at 10. The kick out. Hall looks for another one, not this time, and here come the Jayhawks.
It's interesting the way Kansas is playing that.
Rush got hit on the three, no call. That was a quick one.
Kansas is backing off of Colorado in terms of guarding this offense and playing inside the three-point line. You can pressure it and be susceptible to back cuts, or you can give up jump shots, which Bill Self is now saying we're going to let you shoot the ball from deep.
There's the switch out front. Arthur now trying to guard Roby. Inside the double. And here's Roby. Arthur gets out quickly. He got the size, though. You can't get there with the one step.
That's right.
Dribble drive. Thorne knocked out of bounds. Kansas basketball. They took the shot clock all the way down to 3.
You see Thorne gets to the rim, and that's a good no call.
Yeah.
He's lost his footing. Good job by Jackson to not get a piece of Thorne.
Fran, you talked about Bill Self and what the loss on Wednesday might do for this club overall in a season. This one's tipped out, and it's Colorado basketball. So another turnover and frustrating start for the Jayhawks. Over the course of this season, to remain unbeaten, the pressure that brings, people talk about it, the media talks about it.
Right.
Are you one who thinks it's good to have a loss?
No, you want to win every game, but the reality is that the reality is history says that it's been 32 years. So once you don't win a game,
Roby, quick drive on the baseline, up and in, and Colorado playing well early.
Then you want to use that loss, provide, as I mentioned, that reality check.
Jackson and the foul underneath. Marcus Hall, I believe. They're going to whistle him. It hasn't been that long. Think about it. Indiana. Doesn't seem like that long.
Now that might have been what? 3rd grade, 4th grade for you?
Well, let's see. That was 13 at the time. Yeah, a little older than that. I remember watching that team.
Yes,
Scotty May, Quinn Buckner.
That was a great team. They asked Bob Knight earlier this week, could it be done this year? And he said, well, it's been done once, and it's going to be done again. It's just a matter of when. And today Memphis survived the scare to UTEP at home, so they're the remaining unbeaten team. I think if you're a team like Kansas that loses a game at K-State, your rival, and it was a great game, you get to look at it and say, okay, what did we not do well in that game? But this team will not lose its swagger, Terry. They're not going to let doubt creep into their minds over one loss.
Jackson with the free throw, so it's 7 for the foul, by the way, was on Corey Higgins, and the team's first.
Here's an interesting thing now, because of the small lineup, Jackson guarding Roby, who's a 2-man. It's not a comfortable situation for Kansas's big guys.
Sasha Khan off the bench for Kansas and Bill Self. First 5 possessions for Colorado, taking it all the way down under 12 at least on the shot clock, and they do it again. Mel Jackson Wilson off the bench for Colorado, and the shot clock is down to 5. Got to go. Hall rises from 3-point land. That's his second. Quick timeout. Bzdelic's got to love the start, but they've had a history of that throughout the season. They've let a number of games have some solid starts that they then let get away.
They have really bought into the change of philosophy here at Colorado. Now, do they have the talent to play 40 minutes of this style? That remains to be seen, but you got to like the execution early.
Marcus Hall with a couple of 3-pointers, and it's a 10-4 lead for Kansas. Now, you talked about the undefeated teams and those who have gone deep into the season, and check it out. Kansas 20, Memphis obviously 21-0.
That's right, and it just doesn't happen very much because I think there's so much parity in college basketball now, so many good teams at every level.
But on the right side of your screen, you see lost, dating back to 03, 04. None of those teams have won a national championship.
That's right.
Chalmers with that screen on the side. He lost it for a moment. Cross court, Sharon Collins now off the bench, as is Roderick Stewart, who was starting earlier in the season.
Now Kansas has gone to 4 small guys.
Chalmers and 1 in the foul on Jackson Wilson. So Mario Chalmers with the small lineup. A little burst for Kansas.
Kansas fans certainly like to find out how K-State's doing today in a tight one with Missouri. Down, in fact, when Bill Walker, who is 24 of 63 from three-point land this year, fires up a difficult shot, and it comes up begging. Missouri knocks off K-State 77-74, and look at what Arkansas is doing to Florida on their home floor, 46-21.
Missouri 77, Kansas State 74.
And the roar from the crowd as they announced that Missouri upset over Kansas State 77-74. Kansas State the big win on Wednesday. They come back perfect time for Mizzou to get them.
You know, the thing that I was thinking all week is, can they handle prosperity? And we talked about Kansas having a hangover from the loss. As you know, Terry, you can have a hangover from a win, and that's exactly what happened in Columbia.
And the Twins love it here in Boulder. Chalmers at the line, trying to create the three-point play, and does. So Kansas going to that smaller lineup, and now the pressure, Fran.
And they can do that. They've done this year on a number of occasions. Rod Stewart in the ball game, and they match down now to the size and quickness of Colorado.
Hall with a couple of threes. They haven't gotten out on the shooters, and now it goes right through the hands of Marcus Hall.
You can see the pressure already taking its toll. It was a little more difficult for Darnell Jackson to get out on that perimeter and defend those little guys.
First turnover so far for Colorado. Kansas got a couple of them so far. Well, make it 3. A reminder, there's women's college hoops on ESPN2 Monday night. 2 of the best teams in the ACC squaring off. Classic rivalry. Number 3 Carolina taking on number 11 Duke. Rivalry week presented by Cisco, getting underway Monday night at 7 Eastern on ESPN2. One of the tougher weeks of the year to say for the broadcast. Rivalry week. Elmer Fudd week.
Duke just absolutely annihilated the Hokies of Virginia Tech. See, I got the feeling now with the smaller lineup, they're going to come out and extend the floor much more.
Which opens it up for the drive. Yep. That's what Hall got. And Stewart just a little bit late getting there, trying to take the charge.
Good call, Terry. You see the room, he gets to the rim, and then the rotation over is just a little bit late. But if I'm Kansas, I would rather make this game speed up than to play inside the three-point line.
To allow them to take time off the shot clock and then set up for a 3.
Exactly. You'll give up some layups, spread the floor a little bit. And just as they say that, they go back to the bigger lineup.
Taking your advice as usual. Yeah, Kahn back in and Arthur back in. Offensive foul. So it's Jermel Jackson Wilson, his second.
Little action inside. Richard Roby.
The foul was away from the ball and that action. It was on Jackson Wilson, who's come off the bench and is still in there trying to guard Sasha Kahn. Picks up another one. Kahn went back down and won't count.
And a good look over the top by Sharon Collins, trying to establish that Kansas inside game.
Well, Fran, that's his 3rd. Jackson Wilson came off the bench, and he's got 3 fouls. There's 14:26 left in the first half.
And it's interesting because they do not have a lot of size. King Stockton was in foul trouble up at Iowa State. They do not go deep, this team.
Yeah, Roby fouled out against Iowa State. King Stockton fouled out against Iowa State. So he'll go to the bench, and it's King Stockton back on the floor. We talked about the strong starts for Colorado this year. and not being able to finish. That game the other night was one of those against Iowa State. They're right there. They go the last 10 minutes of the game without a field goal. They only scored 19 points in the second half.
Exactly, after leading by 7 at the half.
Thorne quickly to the front court, and they'll set it up. There's that matchup on the perimeter. Arthur guarding Roby. Thorne with Collins on him, gets a screen. Got pretty good help in the lane for Kansas. But with the bigger lineup, again, the shot clock down to 5.
That's right. Can't get it inside as easily.
Takes the extra step, and Thorne commits the turnover.
We were told that Xavier Silas, who has been a 2-year starter here, would not start the game. We may see him, but you know, we watched practice yesterday, and you don't know everything going on in the program, but the whole key in his first year for Jeff Bzdelic is establishing a certain work ethic and way to play that can carry over to the future. So hopefully we'll see Xavier Silas get that opportunity and make the most of it.
Levi Knutson off the bench, the freshman from Littleton, Colorado, for Jeff Bzdelic. Shot clock down under 10 now for Kansas. Robinson, and there's the whistle. 3 seconds in the lane. How many of those this year have you seen called?
A few more. I've seen a few more.
Looking to call that one.
Yeah. Yep. But this is a perfect tempo for Colorado right now. You have to be ecstatic if you're Jeff Bzdelic. In a David Goliath situation, I always felt that you had to play. And, you know, Jimmy V might have had some thoughts. You play TV timeout to TV timeout.
Yep.
You just want to get to the next TV timeout and say, holy smokes, we're still in it.
He used to do that all the time, and he broke his season down into that as well.
Yep.
4- and 5-game segments throughout the season. Roby creates, Knutson in and out. Really had a tough game against Iowa State. He was 0 for the game, but he is a shooter. Tipped away, taken away by Higgins, the freshman in the run-out. Corey Higgins, who's been around as a star at Fresno State, and then for 13 years in the NBA, and now the GM for the Bobcats.
And now he's been around good basketball and is one of the bright young stars in the Big 12.
Offensive foul. We're going back to the Colorado side.
You see Higgins now runs right through that passing lane. And you know what? Beasley and Darrell Arthur, some of these young stars in the league, are going to be gone. Corey Higgins will grow over his 3 or 4 years into a very good Colorado Buffalo player, one of those foundation players for Jeff Bzdelic.
First foul on Sasha Khan, team's 3rd. Colorado has 4, and Colorado has 5 recruits already signed for next year. So
that's right.
A number of freshman and sophomore players next year.
And 2 pretty good transfers, too. They had 1 transfer, Casey Crawford from Wake Forest, and the young man Jeremy Williams, who played last year and averaged 8 points a game, getting his academics in order.
5 on the shot clock. Robinson trying to take away the 3 from Hall, making it difficult. Finally gets it off. The violation. Good show on that screen by Kansas.
Quick feet by a big guy like Jackson, who goes almost 250. See Jackson move his feet, doesn't foul, and Hall has to hoist up a desperation shot.
Nowhere to go, no one open either. Not enough time to get there. Kansas has really struggled at the offensive end.
They really have. I've been impressed with Colorado's pressure defense in the half court.
They turned it over here the last 3 possessions. Not this time, though. Darrell Arthur, Roby picking up the foul down on the block. Step away, come right back to Boulder. 12-9, Colorado. Obama-Hillary a couple of nights ago at the Kodak Theater, and in L.A. tonight, Pauley Pavilion, another storied venue. We've got Arizona taking on UCLA. Kevin Love's been a monster.
He really has, and Darren Collison's getting healthy, and he's been absolutely outstanding over the last couple weeks.
Kansas has not, as of yet in this one. 12-9 they trail, and so far 6 turnovers, only 4 shots from the floor, and no assists in the game.
Good solid defense. Look at that, trap in the corner out of the zone. And a timeout.
You think it's a little hangover effect from Wednesday night?
Yeah, and I think
and give Colorado credit, though. They've played great defense.
I think they expected to come in and roll through Colorado. And Colorado, as we talked about, they've been, you know, they led Kansas, they led Texas at the half in Austin. They were ahead of Missouri. They were ahead of K-State for a while. So they've proven that in stretches they can be a solid basketball team.
13 possessions for both of the clubs so far. And it has been a Colorado pace.
It really has. Colorado, you know, probably averages a little over 60 possessions a game. Kansas wants it to be in the 70s. So, hey, the less Kansas has the ball in their hands, I'm no genius, but the less they have it, the more likely that they're not going to put the ball in the basket.
It's like football. Keep the offense off the field, right? And they can't score.
Yep.
Unless you turn it over. Tough to get it in again. Chalmers with the cut, though, missed. Followed up by Jackson and missed. And another opportunity, another shot clock for the Jayhawks.
Now, Chalmers had to protect himself, but in doing so, that shot went up, and Jeff Bzdelic wanted an offensive interference.
Russell Robinson swings it, Chalmers, and now Collins. Picked his pocket. Here comes Thorne. Got a man to his left. Probably should have given it up. Injury at the other end. It's Collins holding the knee.
Remember, Collins had a stress fracture in his foot, which caused him to miss 6 games in the early part of the season.
See if he can pick it up. Tough to pick it up,
Really
although
hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yep. See, I think he banged knees. See that? He banged the knees with Thorne.
Which, while painful, would not be a bad thing, but we'll wait and see. A lot of Kansas fans here on the road. There they go everywhere, but certainly here in Colorado. Take another look.
Take a look at that right knee, Terry. See the pain?
Yeah, it might have been that. So they still are working on him. Kansas's last field goal was at the 15-24 mark. We're now at the 11-18 mark. See, before the injury and after the stress fracture early in the season, as you mentioned, he was out, and of course Brandon Rush was out. He came back November 15th, earlier than expected.
And that actually helped their team because they got used to playing Rod Stewart some more. They were able to play different lineups, and once they've gotten healthy outside of that game on Wednesday night, they've really been a steamroller.
Another look at a different angle, and yeah, that's what happened. So he's up, which is a good sign. Yeah, you see it often, though, for teams that have key players go out. The subs step in, they get playing time, and then when the regulars come back, they're even better.
You got a little more depth.
Yep. Unless you don't have guys buying into the system and the team aspect.
Well, the greatest thing about the best thing that Bill Self does, I mean, he's a good X&O guy, he's a tremendous recruiter, all those things, but the way he manages great players, to me, is his greatest strength. And there's an example right there. You look at guys, All-Americans coming off the bench. In fact, Cole Aldridge, their freshman, 6'11", 6'10", their 10th man right now is a McDonald's All-American last year. He just needs to wait his turn.
5 different leading scorers the last 7 games, and in the last 3 years, they haven't had anyone average 14 points or more a game. That's the balance that Bill Self has had. Brandon Rush has been close to that, but 13 and change the last couple of years. So another miss, Colorado basketball. And this game is settled in. So far, it's been controlled by the Buffaloes. Thorne, Rush, and they're like getting there to take the charge. So another foul, and that'll be the team's 4th. Now, ABC, your NBA destination for games every Sunday. Tomorrow, Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavs take on Rasheed Wallace and the Pistons. NBA Sunday on ABC at 2:30 Eastern, beginning with GMC NBA Countdown at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
The Mavs shorthanded right now with Devin Harris out a couple weeks with a sprained ankle. One thing you got to keep in mind, we mentioned Xavier Silas. They now have played 10 minutes. They're leading by 4, and This is a great message to send your team. It's much like Mike Anderson suspending those players and winning today. To play well when you've taken a stand in terms of your team and the chemistry is always a positive thing. So when Xavier Silas gets a chance now, you want to see if he's going to continue to buy into what's going on.
Yeah, if they're down 12-2 when he's out the first 6-7 minutes, then we got a problem. Kansas coming back big way. Going over the rim and almost taking one away, but out of bounds. It'll be Colorado basketball. First field goal in over 5 minutes for the Jayhawks. Emphatically.
Kansas, outstanding lob team. You see the screen. And a slip to the goal.
Arthur on the receiving end. There is Silas. Hasn't taken off the warm-up yet.
And the young man started last year, had a very good freshman year.
Knutson.
Nice.
Roby. Got it.
Yeah. They talked about that yesterday, making the extra pass.
Roby with 5. Rush, though, answers quickly at the other end with a 3 of his own.
Rush, wide open, Terry. Career 43% from deep. Very, very consistent deep shooter.
His first points in the game for a man who's got over 1,200 in his career. Game's taken up a notch in intensity the last couple of trips.
And Kansas needs to speed this game up.
Higgins did that on the half court.
Kansas has started to extend. It opens up the offense for the drive.
Pretty good recognition, too. He had Arthur on him. He couldn't stay with him. He had no chance. Rush took an extra step and the turnover, giving it back to the Buffs.
Well, Bill Self talked on Wednesday night that his team played speeded up against Kansas State, and you can see some of that impatience now as Colorado still holds this lead.
Every time this game, though, has been taken up a notch and going up and down a little bit, Colorado's had an opportunity just to walk the ball up the floor. Roby, 2 in a row.
We talked about the buy-in factor. It's not easy to be your team's leading scorer for 3 years and accept a new coach. And he's done it very well. Of course, his brother, Kenyon Martin, knows Jeff Bzdelic well.
Largest lead of the game, the silencer. Jackson answers off the nice dish. And they'll take a seat in the Coors Event Center. And Jeff Bzdelic not happy at all. He's going to call a 30.
Yeah, I like this now. This is good. He was very positive and patient yesterday, but he's also teaching his team to compete. It's not about just today, but we'll take a look at Mario Chalmers. Gets a piece of the paint, draws the defenders, and Jackson able to sneak in along the baseline.
Well, they left Chalmers wide open and then got pinned down low.
Yep.
2 mistakes on 1 play as we check out the Big 12 standings. So Kansas State, they were undefeated in league play until this afternoon. Now they lose to Missouri, and Kansas right behind. Colorado trying to get out of the cellar.
Well, and a great thing about Missouri winning today, we're talking about changing the culture. Mike Anderson suspending 5 players, bringing 2 of them back today. They gave him a standing ovation the other night when they played Nebraska at home when they introduced him. The Missouri fans embraced the discipline, and it paid off today in a huge win at home.
Texas A&M at 3-3 coming back with a couple of wins.
That's right.
They went on the road and started to struggle after the great start. Ron Collins back on the bench after getting checked out in the locker room for Kansas. Roby. Stewart matched up with him right now.
Get the sense that Colorado's got some confidence in running that offense.
So they go under 5 on the shot clock. Kahn trying to stop Higgins, who backs up and knocks down a 16-footer.
How sweet was that? That's a step-back move. Can't do it any better. Created a little separation from the big guy.
Higgins rattled it home. He's got 8 in the game. The lead is 7. Kahn on the block. Off the glass and in.
Improved offensive player, Sasha Kahn, shooting over 66% this season. Andy Manning's had a lot to do with those big guys starting to come on. Former Jayhawk great, now an assistant coach.
Led them to their last national title back in 1988. 20 years since that, too. How about that?
How about
Made me feel old. What do you have, 31 in that final game?
He was a monster. 18, 19 rebounds.
Yeah. Oh, good swing of the basketball, and there's the foul against Colorado. Team 6th, and Jackson will go to the free throw line. Higgins breaking down Kahn, who had no chance to stop him. And Colorado playing well.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
I'm Carl Ravitch, SportsCenter right now. Two of the top individuals and teams in the country. #1 Memphis pushed to the test today. I mean, this is a team that's won at home and in conference by an average of 25. They beat UTEP. They were trailing by 3 late in the game, but thanks to that shot from Mr. Rose, they go on to win 70-64. Tiger had led the first 2 rounds in Dubai, a 73 today. 8 shots worse than the leader, Ernie Els, who shot a 65. We'll see you at the half.
Carl, thank you very much. Back inside Coors Event Center here in Boulder. We got a game here, Fran.
Colorado's been pretty efficient on the offensive end, and gotta like the way they play with some spunk.
Going to work on a number of different fronts. 8 turnovers so far for Kansas. So the defense working for Colorado, and they've got Higgins and Roby from the floor, each with 8 points. Another free throw, though, cuts the lead to 3. We're at the 7-11 mark. Little inside-out game. Coney off the bench, Javon Coney, and misses. I'd like to get a little perspiration going before you take that first one.
Yeah, I think so.
Rush gets it back. Tipped out off for the Buffs. It'll stay right here with Kansas.
And I think Coney might have got a piece of that. Coney playing because Jeff Pizdelic making that point to Xavier Silas.
Things heating up a bit from the floor. Teams combined 8 of their last 11. And Chalmers will control.
The zone now, matchup zone. Brought this over from Air Force. It looks like man. You'll think it's man sometimes, Terry. Then they'll switch.
If you're a point guard and you're in charge of reading the defense, you make that cut through and see if someone goes with you.
Absolutely. In fact, you get a lot of movement, I think, against a defense like this.
Blocked out of bounds. Quick hands underneath.
That's where some of your zone set plays won't work, and you need to just freelance it a little bit with some motion cuts.
King Stockton knocking it out of bounds. Here's Rush quickly for 3. Kahn couldn't go. Jackson the offensive rebound. Rush the offensive glass, and the Jayhawks dominant on the backboards right now.
Well, with Colorado small the way they are, Bill Self has gone back to the big lineup, and particularly with Jackson and Kahn, this is the power lineup.
Rush has 5 in the game. Here's Higgins, who's played well. Javon Coney, the freshman from Latin High School in Chicago, as Jeff Pizdelic talked about it in the last game against Iowa State, wants to get to his bench more and get guys a rest. Again, under 10 on the shot clock. All giving it up to Coney, 0 for 2. Not sure that's the guy you want shooting right away.
And he had to shoot that one, obviously, with the clock going down.
Kahn falls away in the lane. First lead of the game for Kansas, 24-23. And we might be in Boulder, but listen to the Jayhawks fans. Timeout, Colorado.
And we mentioned Richard Roby keeping this Colorado team in it. Take a look. Now he gets it off. Great offense. There's the extra pass. Knocks down the shot. He's able to get it on his own off the dribble. And then one more time utilizing that offense. Really good execution here by Colorado as Roby knocks down another 3. But then all of a sudden, Terry, the Jayhawks with the pressure defense starting to turn up the heat a little bit.
194 career threes. Richard Roby going after a number of different marks in terms of Buffalo history, but Kansas with the defense and on the glass coming back to take the lead. 15-3 Kansas leads in terms of the rebounding battle.
One of the things that makes Kansas so dangerous, and in my mind right now the best team in the country, is that they can play a lot of different styles.
He had 7 offensive rebounds. That was Roby off the bench.
First backdoor cut of the day. Excellent execution.
Roby's in double figures with 10. That was the most spectacular. The turnover gives it back to the Buffs.
Take a look, Terry. Excellent backdoor execution. You dribble at Roby. That freezes Stewart. And then you've got a highlight package right there. The dribble at sets up the back door. Stewart turns his head. And the one-hand bounce pass is important. Now you say why? Because it's a lot quicker to make a backdoor pass with one hand than the way we were taught in the old days with the two-hand bounce pass.
Hall looking for another 3. He had 2 of those early, but can't get it. And the foul on the boards underneath. Caleb Patterson, who just came into the game, committed his first.
Caleb Patterson, personal foul number 1.
And we mentioned earlier that you just want to stay in this game if you're Jeff Bzdelik to the next TV timeout. And if you can get your team close by the half, it becomes a great morale booster. Because what they've been doing in practice, it may not be paying off in terms of wins, but it'll give these kids a big lift.
7th team foul on Colorado, so Tom was at the line for the 1-and-1 and only had 1. There's the back door again.
Yep.
Arthur did a nice job. Step back and the screen, moving screen by Caleb Patterson. So the freshman from Ringwood, Oklahoma, comes off the bench and commits 2 fouls in the span of about 12 seconds.
And you realize there's more people in the student section than there is in the whole, his entire hometown. Little bitty town in Oklahoma.
And you take the last 4 minutes now, and if you're Jeff Bzdelik, you're saying, all right, the lead or a 1-point, 2-point game, you got to be in this thing when we get to the locker room. Then you play in spurts, you play in segments. Rush, the fadeaway, didn't have to, but he got the roll, the shooter's roll.
Much looser now, Kansas. You see Brandon Rush, no hesitation, comes off that screen.
Defense noticeably better in the last 5 minutes for Kansas.
One of the things you want to do with backdoor cuts is try to get your body in play.
Roby lost it out. Could have gone off his knee, but they keep it here at the Colorado end. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Under 4 minutes left in the first half, and it's a 1-point game.
Introducing the D64 series, the slimmest, lightest aquas ever. From the leading innovator in liquid crystal television, Sharp.
The 25 greatest players in college basketball history, presented by IBM, beginning February 4th. IBM, getting it done.
Yeah, we did that in football, too. That's going to be interesting. I've got some definite thoughts on who the top couple of players.
A couple summers ago, I was wasting some time and I put together my top 100 all-time players. So
that's what you do in your spare time, I guess.
Exactly.
Huh? That's a coach for you. New shot clock for Colorado as Thorne missed it.
Let's just say that Lou Alcindor and Bill Russell will be near the top of that list. On my list,
Near
anyway.
the top, not at the top, but perhaps.
You know, maybe.
How about David Thompson, Bill Walton?
David Thompson. I think David Thompson was the greatest player that ever played in the ACC.
I agree with you.
You know?
And that's
not because
that's with
he went to
Michael
NC
Jordan.
State.
That's
Yeah.
with Ralph Sampson, Lenny Bias. But I agree with you. Might be my best ever overall. But, a little young when Lou Alcindor was roaming Pauley Pavilion. First offensive rebound on this possession for Colorado the entire game, but they throw it away. It's always that.
It's always bad when you throw a bounce pass to your coach.
Star watch with Chalmers, 3 points. Roby holding his own on the other end. 4 of 4 from the floor. Kansas, though, on a 10-2 run of the past 4 minutes and 20 seconds, almost 5 minutes now. Arthur, the big guys together.
Oh, it's funny, when you got Mario Chalmers' stats up there, with Kansas, it really doesn't mean anything because they have 7 different guys that can lead you in scoring. And there's a good example right there of the great ball movement and selfishness.
Yeah, any given night. Chalmers had 19 a couple of nights ago in the loss to Kansas State. There's Roby already in double figures. They just keep it on that perimeter until the shot clock gets to about 6 or 5. Which it's at now. That's not the shot you'd want. Almost got it, though.
And they got a new shot clock. Oh, good move. Good move.
You weren't going to say that first, though.
I was going to say run some clock. No. Nice shot.
Higgins in the double figures with 11. Scramble down low in the paint. Rush is going to launch it up from 15 feet. Chalmers almost a tip dunk.
What an effort.
Well, we have a moment of reminder. The drama is back on Thursday's Lost, the show that is on everyone's top 10 list. See an all-new episode of Lost Thursday at 8 Central on ABC. Brand new season of that show straight ahead. So here in Boulder, we are tied up at 28. 2 minutes, 10 seconds and counting until the break. Terry Gannon along with Fran Fraschilla. Kansas a big-time favorite on the road here, and Sean Collins back into the game after the injury earlier, and he went to the locker room, so good to see the knee's okay. But Colorado holding more than its own. Well, we lost it.
A little too much traffic right there. Little greedy by Roby.
Rush. Jackson fortunate, and there's a skip. Through the lane, it took about 4 steps.
You get the feeling, Terry, that even Kansas is passing today not that sharp. Guys are throwing it over their teammates' heads. And
10th turnover for Kansas, which proves that point. And as a coach, I know these guys are 18 and 19 years of age, and some people think, hey, you can emotionally get up to that level. You should be able to do it every game throughout the season. What are your thoughts on that? They're coming off a Kansas State game the other night.
You would think you wouldn't have to give the Knute Rockne speech today, because I'm a believer that you can only give that rah-rah speech 3 or 4 times a year. And you'd want to save it, quite frankly, when you're playing Colorado. You would think the loss to K-State would be enough motivation, but so far in the first half, Colorado has dictated the tempo of this game.
If you're in the Big 12, you're in the ACC, this year the Pac-10, you're in those leagues, and you go twice a week, Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Saturday. It is difficult. I don't care if Thorne gets the roll and the foul. Jeremy Case just into the game and a chance for a 3-point play.
And the young man from Arlington, Texas, who, by the way, cousin of A.C. Law, the great Texas A&M guard, getting the opportunity to start today because Jeff Bzdelik benched Xavier Silas. And the young man, only a sophomore, with a big bucket.
7th team foul on Kansas. Thorne, who also has another famous family member, his great uncle, Mr. Cub.
Let's play 2.
Or 3. Ernie Banks.
I think a guy from Joliet, Illinois would be excited about that.
I was a Sox fan, though. Arthur turned around. I loved Ernie Banks.
That's right.
Air ball off the block for Arthur, and Colorado under a minute now.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Oh. If you get the ball back, run some clock. That's right.
And Roby is very fortunate that his team got that offensive rebound.
And you know what? That's not a bad shot for him. And if it would have gone in, it would have been a great shot. But at least you got the ball back, run some clock, and you have a chance to go in up at the half.
Moments away from Jody Carl in the studio. Memphis still undefeated. Wildcat letdown. Game day Pac-10 preview. All of that straight ahead. Roby kicking it to the corner. Higgins back. Roby. This place would have exploded.
Great extra pass by Higgins.
Kansas has time. Jackson will go to the free throw line. Thorne committed the foul. His first. I mentioned the UBS halftime report. Memphis got a scare, though. You don't want to play those former players.
Assistants and players, yep. Tony Barbee's done a nice job at UTEP, and he goes back to the UMass days. One of John Calipari's first recruits at UMass, almost knocked him off today.
Big one tonight in the Pac-10. Arizona is at Pauley to take on the Bruins. Jackson
got to be concerned with right here if you're Colorado, Terry, is making sure you grab this rebound. And you see that Jeff Bzdelik's gone big. It's not his first rodeo. With the big lineup in there.
Double figures for Jackson here in the first. 0.9 seconds. Just get it in right here. And that will do it. But a solid first half for Colorado. They came to see the Bucks pull off a major upset, and we're right where we started. 30-30 is your halftime score as we go to the studio for the UBS Halftime Report.
ESPN's College Basketball on ABC, presented by KFC, brought to you by Hyundai. Discover the power of thoughtful engineering at thinkaboutit.com. And EAS, don't waste your workout. We'll be back with the UBS Halftime Report after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Kansas State. Let you know what happened to K-State in just a second, but the big story remains the only unbeaten. That, of course, the Memphis Tigers. Kansas with a loss, Carolina with a loss, Memphis up against Tony Barbee. You heard Terry and Fran both mention he played for Coach Calipari. He also was an assistant for him from 2000 to 2006, and now his team, UTEP, gets a big three late from Randy Culpepper. It put UTEP up 60-58. Watch Chris Douglas Roberts penetrate and then have to throw up the skyhook from the elbow. It goes Memphis up 63-60. Derrick Rose with $1:30 on the clock, doing it himself. Off his foot, over and back violation. UTEP scores, makes it a one-point game. Next time down the floor, Memphis. It's Rose, and this time penetrates into the paint, hits the fadeaway. Memphis up 65-62. Culpepper with the last chance to tie. No good. Douglas Roberts, 24 points for his fourth straight 20-plus point game, the longest such streak of his career. Here's the next five for the unbeaten Memphis Tigers. Houston should pose a threat, but SMU, UCF, and Houston are all at home. Then they go on the road for Alabama and Tulane. They also have a big one coming up against Tennessee on ESPN. Miami and Duke, it is under 2 on the clock, and Duke, this has been a very physical battle. A couple of Dukies got noses bloodied, faces cut. 36-29, the Blue Devils are on top. They get set for a Wednesday ESPN date with North Carolina at 9 o'clock Eastern time. They'll be on the road for that one. The aforementioned Kansas State, Michael Beasley and company, the Wildcats on the road facing Missouri. Beasley, no. Battling, yes. Wildcats up 4. Second half tied at 72. JT Tiller, the layup goes. Missouri up 3 after the free throw. People wondered if Kansas would have a hangover following that loss to K-State. Maybe K-State doing it after the win. Beasley with a board in the putback. K-State within 1. Bill Walker, 24 of 63 from deep this year. Iron unkind Mizzou knocks off Kansas State 77-74. Baylor and Texas. We know about the Baylor Bears and their upset capabilities. Texas found themselves down 14 in the first half. They tried to come back and, in fact, were up by 1 after that bucket, made it 58-57. A.J. Abrams had a huge game, 20 points, good dish there. Augustine held to only 9 points. Texas up 4, 72-68. Another very nifty pass down low. And Texas beats Baylor by a score of 80-72. So those Longhorns at number 10 in the country improved to 17-4 overall. Meantime, with that win, take a look at another game from this conference in Oklahoma, and Texas A&M just underway. The Sooners leading 19-17. The Florida Gators getting hammered. They've actually lessened the damage. It is 66-44. Less than half to go in the second half.
The team ranked number 2 in the nation. It was 1992. Terry Gannon back with Fran Fraschilla. Bill Self, no doubt, trying to light a fire at halftime under the Jayhawks. And great offensive execution so far for Colorado.
It really was. They took care of the basketball. They ran their stuff. It's a pattern offense. Take a look now. We're going to show you one aspect of it, the dribble at, how it sets up the backcourt cut. If you're overplayed, they dribble at you. Defender turns his head, backdoor pass, and this was done to perfection. Take a look. The one-hand pass by Higgins to Roby, sets up that back door look.
And then on the perimeter, keeping his dribble alive, too, to be able to make that play. Our Colonial Life one-on-one spotlight. Rush with 7 in the first half. Roby in double figures, and 2 of 4 beyond the arc, but Rush with the 4 rebounds. And that is one area where Kansas dominated the first half. 18 rebounds for the Jayhawks to 9 for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, they really did. Buffaloes really play with 4 guards and a power forward, whereas Kansas comes at you with that conventional lineup with size.
7 offensive rebounds for Kansas in the first half. Swatted away underneath. It was Arthur who got a piece of it.
Now, that was great execution, but unfortunately, no accounting for the 6'9" Arthur.
So he makes the block at one end, but then the offensive foul on the other end.
Watch Darrell Arthur comes down the floor. You know, they kind of got tangled up, really.
Yeah. So Arthur's first, and Roby brings it up. Roby and Higgins, the 2 top guys, and the rest of the team just 9 points. But remember the history this year of Colorado. Playing well early and then blowing second half leads.
And mostly because they don't have the depth really to be able to sustain 40 minutes of great basketball right now.
Great cut by Higgins, and the look from Thorne blocked out of bounds. They don't call a foul.
I'll tell you what, early on, you got to love their execution. Little sneaky back cut. There's Higgins, gets loose. I don't know, what do you think?
May have gotten a piece, maybe not. We'll go with the officials. 2 possessions, 2 blocks for Arthur. Then the turnover, and Rush missed the chippy. Knocked out was Kansas basketball.
So much of Kansas's offense starts on the defensive end. Chalmers with a poke away, and Rush not able to finish.
Under pressure, but a shot that he would normally knock down. Clean the floor, and fresh shot clock, 35.
Terry, I mentioned the offensive execution by Colorado. Everything goes right, but you just got to have the size and quickness to be able to finish against this type of team. So the matchup zone right now. It looks like man. They switch a lot.
Arthur on the roll over Roby, made it tough. The foul, giving it back to Colorado.
Little bit of frustration right now. Kansas not able to score point blank.
Personal foul number 2 for
Darnell Jackson's second team foul here in the second half for the Jayhawks, and we are still tied at 30. And Colorado back to what they did in the first half, controlling, trying to slow this game down. Almost a walking violation. King Stockton giving it up to Roby, who steps on the baseline. So a couple of blocks, a couple of turnovers. And even though they have been executing well, not a good start offensively for the Bucks.
And now Kansas has got to take some of those opportunities to score at the other end. You know, the TV timeout theory for the underdog still is in play. Now you've got a tie game. You want to get down to that 16-minute mark, because I really believe then the pressure falls more on the Goliath as opposed to the Dave.
Yeah, the tight sneakers as we go deeper into this one, and it's close, certainly on Kansas. Turnaround, nice one in the lane from Jackson.
So many balanced scoring players. You can make the argument Darnell Jackson can be their MVP this year, the way he's played.
Take your pick, really.
Yeah,
4 or 5 guys.
right.
Jackson with 12 in the game. Higgins, and there's the reach as Arthur not quite quick enough to stay with Higgins. His second. And we saw Colorado take advantage of that early in the game, too.
That's right, because of the size factor. Bill Self goes big, Colorado small, so you got to defend these guys away from the basket. Actually, Mark Turgeon's team tried to defend Higgins with Joseph Jones, and he whipped the Aggies up.
Already seen one upset in the Big 12 today. Missouri knocking off Kansas State. Wildcats now 5-1 and tied with Kansas. Chalmers. Push from Arthur. Out of bounds, no foul. Colorado basketball.
You're absolutely right. They get the ball back anyway. But Darrell Arthur, take a look. Now Chalmers tries to just bull his way to the basket. Roby does a great job of avoiding the contact, and you see the little nudge into Thorne, so Arthur, fortunate, didn't pick up a foul there.
Arthur a bit shaken up, gonna limp over to the sideline. That possession was the first one in the game when Kansas had a chance to take a 2-possession lead. That's how much in control Colorado has been. Roby with a late first half spurt. Patient offensively again. Here's Hall. He had a couple of threes in the first 4 minutes. Shot clock down to 5. Thorne blocked. Swatted away by Chalmers. And you hear it from the Kansas fans.
And you got to have a side out of bounds play with 1 second on the shot clock. It's something Jeff Bzdelik got very used to coaching in the NBA. So don't be surprised right here if they get something good.
Trying to lob it to Roby. Tipped it up.
That's as good as any in that situation. Kansas has had opportunities off their defense and have not converted. You see the miss by Rush. Opportunity inside by Arthur. And then Chalmers on the breakaway. Not able to get on the basket.
Jackson in double figures. Free throw line jumper and cleared by King Stockton. Colorado looking to run. Off the rare break, Roby the miss.
That might play into Kansas's hands. They would love to get this big game going up and down.
Spin move and the foul on King Stockton. So for Marcus King Stockton, he picks up his first. And Student Spirit Week presented by EAS last day and tonight. Big matchup out in the Pac-10. Arizona at Pauley Pavilion take on the number 5 UCLA Bruins.
We mentioned Love and Collison, and for Kevin O'Neal, it's Chase Budinger and Jared Bayless, a brilliant freshman.
And the coach, John Wooden, in his usual seat for most of the game, still at Pauley Pavilion.
Not signing autographs.
No, they've asked people not to come up. He wants to enjoy the game. You can certainly understand that because he can never turn you down.
That's exactly right.
He'll sign every autograph, talk to every fan that comes up, remembers your name if you've met him at least once or twice. Amazing. Arthur back on the floor. It's a 4-point lead for the Jayhawks. Plans to renovate Pauley Pavilion. They better never tear that place down.
Like Allen Fieldhouse.
Yep. Foul on Rush.
Which looks better than ever, by the way. The new windows in the upper deck and the lighting, the scoreboard. Kind of the St. Patrick's Cathedral of college basketball arenas.
It is that. Second foul on Rush, 4th team foul. What's your favorite place? In Allen, maybe? Allen or Cameron or Pauley?
Cameron and Allen are right up there. Allen, it doesn't matter who the Jayhawks are playing. They're 16-3 every night.
Certainly the places that have been around for some time. And I've seen the greats play.
The Palestra. I love the Palestra.
Man, the old Big Five.
Oh, man, I love doing a game at the Palestra. Love the pretzels and mustard.
Just the smells as you walk in there. Roby forced the issue. Tough shot. Kahn had a man on his back. They missed it. Roby going nowhere near Arthur, who'll just step up right inside the three-point line and knock one down.
I would take my chances and give him that shot. He is a good shooter. There's no doubt Terrell Arthur can make that shot, but that beats them pounding you inside. Now be really careful now if you're Colorado, because anytime Mario Chalmers and Russell Robinson are on the floor, they can disrupt your offense.
And you talked about getting to that first TV timeout, media timeout. Now they're down 6.
You just want to hang around as long as you can. There's Chalmers.
Quick hands for Chalmers to run out.
Venus flytrap. Quick hands, great anticipation.
10-0 Kansas run. 38-30. They've got all the momentum.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Gorgeous campus, gorgeous area of the country, about 40 minutes from Denver. It's been all Kansas so far in the second half. 38-30, and during the last timeout, a couple of minutes ago, Fran, we saw Jeff Pisdelic very angry with his club. Maybe a little more positive in the last timeout, trying to instill some confidence again.
I agree. Exactly. He just kind of, it's all about changing the culture here and teaching these guys how to compete, how to win, how to execute. There's another example of that pressure defense. I go inside right now.
Khan out of control, the offensive foul. His second. 8-point lead. They'll talk it over again. 38-30, the number 2 team in the nation. Kansas on the road on top of Colorado. And friend, we talked about Colorado's offensive execution. How about that for Kansas? And we've seen it throughout the year.
Oh yeah, Kansas can go inside, but they also are one of the best in the country at setting what we call running ball screens. Big guys leave the post area randomly, and it makes it tough because you got to constantly show if you're the big defender. They move the ball side to side, and they randomly screen, and that creates a lot of confusion. You see the defender inside, not sure which way to go. Got to play 2-on-1 inside, and Kansas takes advantage of the screen and roll offense. Running ball screens.
Good look from EA Sports.
EA Sports, the guys up at Burnaby, British Columbia, Sean O'Brien and the crew do a tremendous job up there.
Well, you can know what Kansas is doing, and that's the thing about in league play. Every other coach and most of the other players know what you're going to do. You've spent so much time watching film, playing against you, but to stop it is a different thing.
Yeah, as our friend Bob Davey always says, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
Jackson Wilson off the bench for the follow. He had 3 fouls in the first half. He spent most of it on the bench. Chalmers, the long 3, barely catches iron.
See, I would try to pound the ball inside, but Colorado is playing 2 men on the big fellas.
Higgins swatted away by Chalmers. It's the second big block we've seen from Mario.
Well, Mario Chalmers, arguably one of the best 3 or 4 or 5 defensive players in the country. You can throw Darren Collison in there, Kyle Weaver, Marcus Dove at Oklahoma State, but Mario Chalmers can really disrupt a team's offense.
Played some hide and seek that time, too.
He's got a great defensive IQ. Great feel for the game. His dad taught him to steal the ball when he was a young player. Try to get it on the 3rd dribble. So he'd watch the dribble, get hypnotized. On that 3rd dribble is when he'd go after the basketball.
You know who used to have that theory? Walt Frazier. Clyde used to talk about taking a couple dribbles there to get the rhythm. Find out the rhythm of that dribbler and then go after it. Rush and the foul. That's on Higgins. KFC hot hand. Kansas 11 of 12 from the free throw line, and Colorado only 3 attempts in the game.
And that's based on the way they run that offense. They're not getting anything in that paint area today.
Kansas very good the other night against Kansas State, but on the year from the free throw line just 66%. So as you look to the NCAA tournament and games that will go down to the last 3 or 4 minutes, is that something to be concerned about?
You know, it's a minor concern. We've seen teams in the past get very far in the tournament. They've been poor shooting teams. That's one of the few Achilles heels they have.
And for a team, you know, it hasn't shown up right now because a team that leads the nation in scoring margin, you don't have that many close games.
That's exactly right.
Talk about the championship teams throughout the last 15 years with the lowest free throw percentage.
You know, ironically, you're exactly right, because both Kansas and Memphis very, very high in terms of scoring margin, so they have not been in a lot of close games.
Memphis 58.7%. That's it.
One thing that's in Kansas's favor is Rush, Chalmers, and Robinson all over 70%. They'll have the ball the majority of the time in close games.
Knutson, a wild shot, almost lost it. Collins picked up his first on that last possession. Here's Chalmers and the foul. Jackson Wilson, they call it on him. That's his 4th. And they do.
When you talk about Kansas, and we talked about the various guys that can lead them in scoring, Darnell Jackson may be the heart of this team, Obviously, Rush and Collins, the athleticism. This guy, Chalmers, is the swagger, Terry, because he can do it on both ends. He's made big shots this year. Huge shot at USC early in the year to beat O.J. Mayo and that crew.
Jackson Wilson to the bench with his 4th. Yeah, Chalmers leading the Big 12 in steals, which he always does the last couple of years, but also an assist to turnover ratio. He can go big with the numbers offensively when you need to. He can shut down the best guy on offense on the other side.
Shoots 48% from 3.
Still a 6-point game. Colorado very much in this. Roby, perhaps it's about that time that he looks to take over. Steps back off the screen. Rush right in his grill. They take it down to 5 on the shot clock.
Gotta shoot it.
They swing it. Canute's in deep corner. He's been very cold the last couple of games. And they need him to shoot well off the bench. Eli Stone is a lawyer with vision. When destiny calls, his vision will lead him and change his life, one case at a time. The new hit critics are calling irresistible, funny, and a real charmer. An all-new episode of Eli Stone Thursday, 10/9 Central, after an all-new Lost, right here on ABC. 12:20 and counting.
They're trying to get to that next TV timeout.
Good drive and kick from Chalmers. Setting up Rush for the 3. That's what he does best. Chalmers does that very well.
You know what? I talk about getting it. Oh, good look inside.
Stockton, there's the foul. He'll go to the line.
Talk all year, Terry. My pet thing is get a piece of the paint. Take a look at Chalmers. He gets into the lane. That draws 3 defenders, and that winds up creating the open look for a guy that shoots on his career about 43% behind the arc.
Too deep taking that charge. I know there's no semicircle down there like the NBA, but they're just not going to call that. Darrell Arthur picked up his 3rd. 17 fouls on Kansas. King Stockton on the bank.
Did you ever, now as good a shooter?
Wait, are you going to ask me
Did
that?
you ever bank a foul shot in?
I am offended that you would. I know it's a long time ago, the early 80s.
I know how good a shooter you were. That's why I'm asking, because that happened to good shooters also.
You know, I've been.
I guess I know the answer.
I haven't been that nervous. He boxed the second one the old-fashioned way.
You had to bank the 3 in when they had that line that year.
Yeah, from about 12 feet.
Yeah.
It was actually inside the top of the key.
Yeah. People don't remember that.
Lob in the dunk to Jackson. Forget the old days. Back to the present. 16 in the game for Darnell Jackson.
Quietly.
Yeah.
You know?
Not forcing it at all. I mean, just what they need. Roby, can an individual take over in an offense like this?
It's a little harder. It's a little harder because you can see there's not much you do. You've got to have great spacing.
Hall, fadeaway 3. They call it a 2. He fell out of bounds. His foot was on the line.
Yeah, this is a guy that's had 28 in the game this year against Missouri. He can put points up.
Jackson wanted it. They both come to set the screen for Robinson. Russell running one-hander, not the best shot.
Roby's been terrific. You're talking about a guard who's got to play power forward. And the way Richard Roby looks like now, he can't wait for that next TV timeout.
Yeah, he's breathing very, very heavily. They wipe off the bucket, the foul before the shot.
Well, you see the dribble penetration set up the dunk, and Kansas starting to take command.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Here at Colorado donates $25,000 a year, and they buy tickets for underprivileged kids to be able to come see the games here. Facilities here, of course, event center, everything Jeff Fisdelic trying to take up a notch.
Moving forward, changing the culture, charter flights for the first time. They're going to Maui in 2009. They've got a very solid recruiting class coming in here. So You know, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's what I used to tell my team, and that's what Jeff Spuzdelic is on the road to doing.
You know, you did steal that from Confucius. You didn't come up with that on your own.
I did. This guy has got a great basketball resume, going back to when he was an assistant at Davidson College under Eddie Biedenbach, where the staff was Bob McKillop, Jeff Spuzdelic, and a guy named Rick Barnes, of course, head coach of the NBA's Denver Nuggets, orchestrating the 6th greatest turnaround in NBA history, by the way.
That's pretty good stats. Great stuff. Yeah. There's the block underneath. No foul called, and Colorado basketball. Gene Stockton on that last trip also picked up his 3rd foul, the team's 4th for Colorado. And Kansas already over the limit with 8 fouls. But 7-point game. They're not going anywhere yet. Nearing the 10-minute mark. Roby's been quiet as of late, and the foul on Chalmers. Excuse me, it's underneath, but it wasn't on Chalmers. It was on Robinson. Reminder tonight, the Saturday movie of the week. Network premiere of the action hit, War of the Worlds, starring Tom Cruise. Tonight at 8/7 Central. Your discretion is advised, friends. So be careful. Okay?
I will take that under advisement.
Okay.
Now, you asked me earlier about that offense, and can you set up a situation where he gets a one-on-one situation. Now, this is not exactly part of the offense, but that's good coaching right there. The screen and roll rolls him into the post. So you can take parts of that offense and spread people out with five-man motion, and then you can use some of your NBA stuff to create the isolation.
And a chance to do that because you had the timeout. That was their first offensive possession since the timeout.
That's right. That's a guy that's probably drawn up a lot of plays in his career. You think of his NBA background as an assistant to Pat Riley, among others.
Arthur to the left hand, and the foul on Roby.
You can always tell what a coach has told his team at the last time out. Spuzdelic set up the ISO, and you know Bill Self said it's time to go inside. Stop messing around on the perimeter. Let's pound these guys a little bit. And a good example right there.
Second foul on Roby, team's 5th, and he didn't believe he got him on the arm. Arthur into the student section.
I asked one of the KU people at halftime, if you knew before the game that Kansas State was going to lose and you'd be tied at the half, would you take it? And they said, absolutely.
A million times. Thorne from 3. White Thorne, the sophomore from Arlington, Texas, connects from long range, and it's a 5-point game.
Getting a start today, and he's been pretty good.
Collins, smooth. Little finger roll at the end.
And he shaked and baked Thorne, who thought he was going to use that screen.
First bucket for him. High into the air goes Marcus Hall.
Hey, you love the floater. If you're a guard, you got to shoot that ball in the high paint area before the shot blocker can get to it.
All with 10 in the game. And it very much is a game. Rush and the foul.
Self exercised today a little bit. Not sure anybody expected Colorado to play this well.
Oh, I'm sure. There was no one. Yeah, not many. 4 fouls on King Stockton.
Yeah, we haven't even used a lot of our film material.
Prepared a lot, too. So he goes to the bench. 16 fouls. So the next one, Kansas will be shooting 1-and-1.
What a great confidence booster this will be, regardless of the outcome of this game.
Higgins trying to stay with Rush. Can't do it. Blocked by Roby. Right to Bill Self.
See a little bit of everything from Roby today. Now remember, he's basically a 2-guard who's had to play power forward this season, but it's really fit him well because of the versatility on the offensive end. It hurts him sometimes defensively, but making the most of this Jeff Spuzdelic offense.
Chalmers off balance. Kansas gets it back. Arthur taken away by Roby.
You were right, Terry. We talked about the hangover, and you can sense that there's still a hangover on the part of the Jayhawks. Coming off that loss, you see they're going to try to get it into the post again.
Spin fade away by Roby. That's a tough shot. My gosh, and it's a 3-point game.
Remember the soft rims? Rush hit one in the first half from 3.
Arthur tries to answer with a 15-footer.
You're looking at a Kansas team that's won 34 of 36. Only 2 losses to UCLA in the West Regional Final and to K-State the other night.
Marcus Hall a little bit quick with that jumper.
Kansas used to getting everybody's best shot.
There's the push by Thorne, his second. So Kahn to the free throw line. When we come back, Kansas is up. They haven't been really sharp. This Delic's club's still in it.
You see Bill Self. And Terry, we were talking about Bill Self. Kansas has to take everybody's best shot every night. Teams like UCLA, Duke, Kansas, Carolina, and they've certainly gotten Colorado's best shot today.
3 straight regular season titles in the Big 12 for Kansas. Kahn at the free throw line. They're 16 of 18. Friend, that's been the difference in this game for a team that only shoots 66% all year long. In Colorado, just 5 of 8.
Darnell Jackson, 8 of 8 from the line. One of their big guys. Sasha Kahn has really improved from the foul line over the course of the season.
Also a product of the way they play offense, as you mentioned earlier. They've got, coming in, they had 304 makes. And their opposition, what, 348? They're very close in terms of makes and takes. Quick bucket at the other end, though. It's a 5-point game.
Usually you need a quick bucket, you go to KFC. Right here.
Nice. Work that sponsor in. Kahn gives you another one. And a little extra at the end.
Well, excellent screen and roll. We talked about Kansas being as good as most in the country at that screen and roll because of the ability of their guards to get in the lane and the mobility of those bigs.
All threes here last few minutes for Colorado. Higgins with the miss. Kansas controls. One and done at the other end. Rushing to the baseline, right around. Thorne will pick up his third. So Brandon to the free throw line.
So we talked about those running screen and rolls. There's a great example of it. Chalmers takes 2 defenders with him, and Sasha Kahn able to free himself at the rim.
Kansas had 20 and 1. And as you mentioned, taking everybody's best shot every night they play. So coming down the stretch in games, they've been there, done that.
Yes.
But Bill Self did say the other night against Kansas State down the stretch, they lacked poise.
That's right.
Which is surprising.
Right. Well, you know, surprising except for the environment they were in and the situation, the history behind it. You know, most of the time they don't do that. But I think Wednesday night, Kansas State played, I don't know if as well as they possibly could play, but they had a lot of things go right. And that's going to be an interesting game on March 1st.
Yeah, the rematch. March 1st. Here comes Chalmers after the steal. Giving it right back to Rush. Straight down Broadway.
Chalmers can score it. He can defend. And a willing passer.
Largest lead of the game for the Jayhawks.
Little breathing room right now.
This place is loud because of all the Kansas fans who've traveled here.
That's right, and it's doubly important now for the Bucks to keep their composure.
Walking violation on Roby. How unique is that to be home? They go out to a double-digit lead on this fast break. Rush bringing them out of their seats. Yeah, check them out. All the blue and the red.
Well, it's not just being, you know, you mentioned it's 8.5 hours from Lawrence, but remember, a lot of people from Western Kansas and an awful lot of Jayhawk fans in the Denver community who don't get a chance to see their team at Allen Fieldhouse.
So Kansas trying to move to 6-1 in the Big 12. Kansas State beaten today by Missouri, a big win for Mizzou, and Baylor and Texas right behind that. So things are bunched at the top.
Texas back on track with a win at home over Baylor.
Who's been one of the top stories in the Big 12 this year. Women's college hoops coming your way on ESPN2. Monday night rivalry week presented by Cisco. 7 o'clock Eastern time. The classic matchup. The Heels and the Blue Devils. Doesn't matter what they get together.
Tiddlywinks.
Doesn't matter. It's a battle.
Well, they lost the brilliant Ivory Latta. We've got Rashonda McCants back, Latoya Pringle. She's my version of James Worthy, Latoya Pringle. Although she can't take off from the foul line, it does look like James.
Still haven't.
He dunk on you?
James Worthy. Chalmers on the back door in the dunk.
Set play out of the timeout. Bill Self, as good as anybody, designing something cute. And they got the back door cut.
And the offensive foul. Kansas in the midst of a 7-0 run.
Take a look at the back door, sets it up. Excellent.
Well, that is just pretty fundamental basketball. There's pressure, you relieve it with a post backdoor cut.
Take that defender away from the basket.
There it is again. Tipped away by Jackson Wilson. Good read. And the officials will discuss it. Zellick doesn't like the way this has gone in the last 3 minutes. They'll keep it here at this end.
See how it's set up? When you're going to overplay the wing like that, you're dead. You're going to lose your shorts.
And Fran, once that happens, is they play a two-man game on this side. The offensive foul on Arthur, and that's his fourth. But once you're beaten on that backdoor cut, your aggressiveness is just taken right away.
It's used against you. It's like judo. You know, you take the guy's strength and use it against him. It's hard to overplay and also defend the lane. Almost impossible.
And number 4, Sharon Collins.
Arthur to the bench. Collins had a big game.
And Robinson.
Some great things inside.
You know, you look at Kahn and Jackson, and neither guy was a McDonald's All-American. They have both blossomed into very, very effective players for Bill Self.
Colorado over 50% in the first half. Kansas just shutting them down in the second half. 35% from the floor to go along with 8 turnovers for the Buffs. Maybe another one here. Jump ball. It's Kansas basketball in the possession arrow.
Pressure now starting to get to the Buffaloes. Kansas, a team that can swarm you with their guard play and their size inside. When they're at their best, Terry, that's the hardest thing about scoring against Kansas, because Rush, Chalmers, Robinson can really pressure the ball. So if you beat them, you're waiting on Arthur and Sasha Khan and Jackson in the back line.
It's not over yet, 5 minutes to go, but this is one where you could almost say the script was written by Bill Self. He knew they might not be sharp coming off that loss a few nights ago, struggled a bit, weathered the storm, all the emotion on the road, and just said, all right, it's the 7-minute mark, we're taking over now.
Exactly, and for Colorado, you have to continue to keep scoring, which they have been unable to do.
Thrown away, Colorado basketball.
I think you'd have to agree that the Colorado game plan has been outstanding in terms of slowing the tempo. And oftentimes, the game plan is great, but you have to have the players to execute. And right now, Colorado with just shy of the kind of players that Jeff Gazdellic is going to need to compete against the Kansases night in, night out.
Thorne to the bench with an injury, perhaps a cramp. Looked like that's what he was. How he was grabbing his leg. We'll see. Good dish inside and the foul. And that's going to come against Jackson. Yeah, it's his fourth. Yeah, they're working on that leg as if it is a cramp.
Cardell Jackson, personal foul number 4.
So Jackson's got 4. Arthur's got 4. And 10 team fouls against Kansas.
Marcus King Stockton shooting 2 at the free throw line.
Thorne, the freshman. Knutson, a freshman. Patterson, we saw him earlier in the game, a freshman, along with Higgins. The future +5 recruits. In this last possession.
Yeah, he ran into a brick wall and the name of Sasha Khan.
Khan is a wall, too. 6'11", 250.
And Texas's DJ Augustine got whacked the other night, guarding the ball in the full court. Brian Davis of the Aggies got him good, and there was no defender around to yell, "Screen right." That would have lost. If it were me, he would have lost a scholarship.
With the Lone Ranger.
You get DJ Augustine hurt.
Collins, who was hurt earlier in the game as well, not anymore, all the way in.
And that was very subtly, a really nice running ball screen by Sasha Khan. That opened up the lane.
Much more of a Kansas pace in the second half, too. And some fast break opportunities. And the problem for Colorado now, one of the many, is that you play that style and you take the shot clock down, you're not getting points in a hurry.
That's exactly right.
Robinson.
See how Khan just parks himself on that three-point line. He's going to get a piece of everybody he can.
Works right around Khan. Stewart found it.
Khan set 2 screens on that play. One on the ball and then the little rub screen and the UCLA cut to the rim, and a good job. Very unselfish. Brandon Rush.
Kansas is so good at reading defenders off of those screens.
Yes, they are. It's a veteran team now.
Levi Knutson, this is another one. Got a tough time. Blocked by Khan as Roby goes down to the deck. So a 15-point lead after a great effort by Colorado. It's 30-30 at the half. There's the foul on Higgins, his third. But Kansas has taken over, along with their crowd here. The number 2 team in the nation, up by 15 on the road.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Little skating action here in Colorado. Kansas up by 15. Colorado had clawed back to within 3 at the 8:15 mark. It's been all Jayhawks since 15-3 as we're back on Student Spirit Week, presented by EAS. Last day of that. Robinson can't join the party here.
Well, for Colorado, it's just a matter, I think, of just running out of gas. They did everything they could. Just don't have the firepower right now to match Kansas point for point. But the effort, the execution was pretty good, I thought, overall. Game plan, controlling the tempo.
Kansas 59% in the second half, and you saw what they're doing from the free throw line. And Roby, who's had another big day, points-wise, adds 3 more to his total. Richard Roby, who is on track to lead them in scoring all 4 years. He would be the 3rd Buffalo to do that in school history, and he's got 20 in this one.
Next game he starts, he'll be the all-time leading Buffalo player in terms of starting.
105th start today. Collins lost it off his foot with 2:16 left. ABC, your NBA destination for games every Sunday. Tomorrow you got the Mavs and Dirk Nowitzki taking on Rasheed Wallace and the Pistons. NBA Sunday on ABC at 2:30. Coverage beginning with the GMC NBA Countdown at 2 o'clock Eastern Time.
Watching practice yesterday, and this is not a reflection of the players' intelligence, but when I watched Air Force the last couple of years, they got to know that system. It was like advanced algebra. What Jeff Pizdelic is doing right now, teaching this offense, it's more like arithmetic. But you can see slowly but surely the execution and how it can pay off, even against a team the quality of a team like the Kansas Jayhawks.
You see his road to Colorado beginning back at Davidson, just outside of Charlotte, Northwestern, and then the 2 years as the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, and then the last couple at the Air Force Academy.
50-12 at the Academy, a Final Four run to the NIT a year ago, and you know he loves this area. He was an assistant coach of the Nuggets, then became the head coach, took the Air Force job, so he's well known and well respected on the front range.
Knutson still can't buy one.
That's why he's like a hitter in a 2-week batting slump, you know. Struggled on Tuesday at Iowa State. One of the top players in the state of Colorado.
And Mr. Basketball in the state of Colorado. He was 0 for 5 in that Iowa State game and is yet to hit one from the floor in this game. And just running some clock. Collins beyond the arc. Why not?
Excellent ball movement. That time, Chalmers turned the ball screen down, rejected that ball screen, took it baseline, and found Collins open.
I want to revisit what we said at the beginning of the show. Kansas, perhaps, in your opinion, the best team in the nation?
I think to this point they are. Certainly all teams hit stretches where, as you see Xavier Silas, who did not get off the bench today, but all teams hit stretches where they may not be at their best. I just think, Terry, Memphis is great. UCLA, Duke is playing really well. I just like Kansas in terms of their balance. They got size, experience, strength.
I was going to ask you, what don't they have?
Well, you know, they could probably use one more outside shooter, but that's really a reach because Collins can make shots, Rush can. Chalmers shoots 48%, so you're really nitpicking.
They find Jackson, and there's the foul on Richard Roby. And Brandon Rush, the great three-point shooter throughout his career, 15 points, 5 of 12 from the floor, along with the 6 rebounds, the EAS player of the game today.
And when you look at that experience of Kansas, remember Brandon Rush was ticketed for the NBA last June. He tore his ACL, so he came back for his junior year. Some thought Darrell Arthur would leave after his freshman year, so it's not just a deep and talented team, but it's a team with a little bit more experience than people expected, because by rights, Rush should be playing in an NBA city right now.
He did 63 career three-pointers coming into today's action. As Cole Aldridge, the freshman from Bloomington, Minnesota, comes into the game. Jackson to the bench. Bill Self says, great job in the second half, and the fans making noise again here, standing ovation.
And these guys now can get ready for Big Monday, and the hated Missouri Tigers come into town in the border war.
Off the big win today for Kansas State.
I think Kansas Jayhawk fans were Missouri Tiger fans today.
Backdoor bounce pass, Roby dunk. As easy as that from King Stockton. So Colorado will drop 5 games in a row and fall to 1-6 in the Big 12, but this score is very misleading today.
Progress. You know, sometimes it's not measured in the win-loss column, but you can recognize it with your eyes. Colorado, a game effort today.
Final seconds and another one in the win column for the Kansas Jayhawks. Roby, a big effort for the Stellic and the Buffaloes, but they dropped to 9-12. Kansas now 21-1. 72-59 your final score as we send it back to Carl in the studio. So long, everybody.